During the Civil War, General William T. Sherman faced a formidable challenge in his quest to capture the Confederate stronghold of Dalton. Johnston's Confederate army held a naturally strong defensive position at Dalton, fortified with obstacles and massed artillery at Buzzard Roost Gap. Sherman knew that a direct frontal assault would be a terrible door of death. So he devised a plan to outflank Johnston, forcing him to abandon Dalton. Sherman's plan relied on the rugged terrain of Rocky Face Ridge and the surprise element. While Thomas and Schofield feinted against Dalton, McPherson's army would swing south through Snake Creek Gap and cut Johnston's supply line at Resaca. The initial plan was to cut off Johnston's rail link to Alabama and threaten the Western and Atlantic Railroad. However, the lack of reinforcements from McPherson's army caused Sherman to rethink his strategy. General Thomas came up with an alternative plan. McPherson's army would execute the Snake Creek Gap maneuver, breaking the railroad at Resaca, then fall back to wait for Johnston's retreat. With McPherson threatening the flank and Thomas and Schofield in pursuit, Sherman aimed to either destroy the Confederates or drive them into the unforgiving wilderness of northeast Georgia. On May 5, the offensive began. Thomas and Schofield advanced towards Dalton, while McPherson moved through Snake Creek Gap without opposition. Sherman's forces made progress, capturing parts of Rocky Face Ridge and almost breaking through Dug Gap. Meanwhile, McPherson reached Resaca, severing Johnston's supply line, and waited for the Confederate retreat. Sherman's strategic maneuvers proved successful, thanks to the innovative plan to flank Johnston at Dalton. General Johnston was oblivious to the threat posed by Snake Creek Gap. He believed any attack on Resaca would be a mere cavalry raid, while he considered Rome the true danger point. However, upon receiving a telegram from Canby about Yankee scouts near Villanelle, he became concerned. General McPherson, tasked with a bold and rapid movement, faced considerable resistance from the Kentucky cavalry and dense undergrowth. Additionally, his growing fear of a Confederate force cutting him off from the gap slowed his march. McPherson's troops skirmished with the Confederates near Resaca. Though having a significant numerical advantage, he withdrew to Snake Creek Gap by evening. His reasons for not taking Resaca or damaging the railroad were his perceived lack of strength and fear of enemy thrusts from Dalton. Not until May 9 did General Johnston learn about McPherson's expedition to Resaca. He ordered Hood's divisions to reinforce the Confederate defense. Meanwhile, McPherson had plenty of time and security to execute Sherman's instructions to break the railroad and withdraw. Sherman received news of the failure to cut the railroad, leaving him disappointed and baffled. He decided to march the entire army through Snake Creek Gap to interpose it between Johnston and the Oostanaula River. Hooker's 20 Corps, followed by Palmer's 14 and Schofield's 23 Corps, joined McPherson's forces. Howard's 4 Corps remained at Dalton to check Johnston's troops. Johnston, however, detected Sherman's plan and retreated to Resaca. Johnston deployed his army, now augmented by Loring's division, to defend Resaca along a line of hills. Sherman advanced from Snake Creek Gap, paralleling Johnston's position. Ignoring a feint attack proposal, Sherman launched an assault on the center of Johnston's line while Union cavalry targeted the railroad south of Resaca. The Confederate left flank struck back. Despite early success for the Confederates, Federal artillery and a counterattack from Hooker's 20 Corps drove them back. Logan's 15 Corps also secured a key position overlooking Resaca. The Battle of Resaca and the pursuit of the elusive railroad proved to be a crucial step in Sherman's campaign. He could not have been more mistaken. Not only did the Confederates stop the Federal assaults cold, but Johnston launched a counterattack by the divisions of Major Generals Carter L. Stevenson and Alexander P. Stewart, both of Hood's corps, with the object of turning the Union left. Stevenson's division struck the flank of Major General David S. Stanley's division, driving it back in disarray, but Brigadier General Alpheus S. Williams's division of the 20th Corps, with deadly volleys, drove back Stevenson's troops, causing Stewart's to retreat also. Meanwhile, on the Union right, 2 brigades of the 15th Corps stormed a hill overlooking Resaca and the railroad bridge in fierce fighting that continued until after dark. Sherman now no longer believed that Johnston intended to retreat. Even so, his objective remained the same: push the Confederates to the bank of the Oostanaula, where he hoped to crush them. On the morning of May 15, the entire 20 Corps shifted to the left of the 4th Corps with orders to strike straight down the Dalton-Resaca wagon road. 2 divisions of the 20th Corps attacked the Confederate line but failed to breach the enemy defenses. Encouraged by the repulse of the Union assault, Johnston ordered Stewart's division to try again, but their attack was met with resistance from Williams's division. During the night, Johnston retreated across the Oostanaula undetected by the Federals, leaving behind a burning pontoon bridge. Sherman blamed the failure on McPherson's caution, but he too must bear responsibility for failing to adopt Thomas's plan or act on the opportunity to knock out the Confederate army.